Two-wheel drive versus four-wheel drive RC cars. I thought that would be a great topic for our Get Into RC video series. And by the end of this video, you should know which one is right for you. Okay, I'm gonna break this video down into about 5 different parts, and I've selected the Traxxas brush stampedes to compare in this video. And we're gonna start off with their costs. This is a two-wheel drive off-road brush stampede ready to run. The only thing you need for this truck is some AA batteries. It comes with the battery pack for the truck, it comes with the charger, a couple other accessories, and for that the cost is $229.99. Let's call it $230. Over here, pretty much the same thing, just add some AA's. It comes with the main battery pack and charger. This is gonna cost you $299.99, so $300. So a two-wheel drive truck is about $70 cheaper than a four-wheel drive truck. And since cost is a big factor for a lot of people, by going with a two-wheel drive truck, you're gonna save yourself some money. And if you did have some extra money that you were maybe thinking of using to go up to a four-wheel drive truck, think about this. You may be able to take that money, get a better charger and a better battery pack, and make this a better experience for yourself, where with this one, you would have to, of course, invest some more to make that happen. So that's the cost difference between them. And that pretty much goes across the board for other brands as well. Now let's talk about the design differences. The designs of the chassis are pretty much a lot different from each other. With a two-wheel drive truck, we have a rear-mounted transmission, and for most two-wheel drive vehicles, that's the case. There's some front-wheel drive cars, but most cars have some sort of rear-mounted transmission for a two-wheel drive vehicle. For a four-wheel drive vehicle, that is pretty much all-encompassing in the RC world. In the full-scale world, you have all-wheel drive, you have four-wheel drive, and in RC, we just kind of lump it all in as one. Now, if four-wheel drive is set up differently, all four wheels are driving on this. So the chassis has been manipulated to accept drivetrains basically in the front and rear. There's gear cases there. There's even sometimes a centrally mounted gear case. So it's got a much different makeup to it than a two-wheel drive. So two-wheel drives are actually rather easier to work on than a four-wheel drive. You got a lot of working components here. So that leads me to the next subject, is the parts themselves. So with the transmission that's mounted in the rear of this truck, it's a gear case, and then we have a planetary gear differential down in the bottom of it, an idler gear, a top shaft gear, and then a slipper clutch. Then you've got slider drive shafts and ball bearings and such out to the wheels, and that pretty much makes up your drivetrain. Now with a four-wheel drive vehicle, you've got a front gear case, and there's usually a differential in there, and then you have drive shafts and bearings out to the wheels. You have a center drive shaft, and then you have a centrally mounted, sometimes gear case, where there could be another differential. There could be a slipper clutch in there, and that's where the motor powers the entire drivetrain. And then you have another gear case in the rear with a differential, ball bearings, drive shafts. So there's a lot more working parts in a four-wheel drive vehicle than a two-wheel drive vehicle. So maintenance-wise, yeah, this one is gonna be a bit more to work on, and it's gonna cost more if you do have to replace anything or make any changes. You've got a lot more working in this vehicle than you do in this vehicle. So now that leads me to, how do these drivetrains work for you? What are they gonna do? So a rear-wheel drive or two-wheel drive model such as this Traxxas Stampede, you have the rear wheels spinning. The front wheels are just free spinning. They have no drive to them whatsoever. All the input is through the rear. It's pushing the car forward. And with that, you do have some driving challenges, which I'm gonna talk about in a little bit. But a four-wheel drive truck, you have the rear pushing, just like the rear wheels of a two-wheel drive, but you also have the front wheels pulling for you. So it's pulling the car. You have all four wheels basically gripping the ground for you. You have all four wheels moving in the air. That's gonna be another topic of driving that we're gonna talk about in a minute. So there's a lot more going on that could benefit you with a four-wheel drive. However, don't discount a two-wheel drive truck. Let's talk about those driving differences next. So a two-wheel drive truck, because the rear is spinning and pushing all the way to the vehicle, it can be a bit of a challenge to drive. Actually, the rear may want to power around on you, and you have to be really conservative with your throttle as you learn how to drive. Very conservative with your steering as well, because when the rear of the truck wants to drive out from under itself, you're gonna have to counter steer possibly. And I actually like the way a two-wheel drive truck operates, and I often say to people, it may actually make you a better driver because you're learning to manipulate the car more, learning the steering more, learning more throttle control. And although it's a little bit more work to handle, it's a lot of fun to learn the characteristics of how a two-wheel drive truck or a car operates. Going over a jump, for example, with a two-wheel drive truck, you're going to learn how to launch off the jump, throttle the car off the jump itself, or with a four-wheel drive, you have more control through the throttle. And let's get into the four-wheel drive driving characteristics. So since all four wheels are moving, they're all powered, those wheels are gripping the ground. It's pulling the truck wherever you need it to. Wherever you steer it, that's where it's going to go. It's gonna hook up, it's gonna lock in, it's gonna go for the most part. Let's say sometimes tires are a factor in it, but for the most part, you've got a lot of traction to it. And because of that, you could do a lot more with a four-wheel drive. You could climb over obstacles with it, going over big jumps. You could actually manipulate how the truck works. Let's say you're actually going over to jump and you've got the nose up too much, you could hit the brakes and it will stop those tires from moving. All four tires will actually drop the nose down, which is great for doing a lot of stunts, a lot of fast driving, makes for a better driving experience. Or if you are jumping and it's going nose down, you can pull the throttle again and the inertia from the tires will pull the truck up. Whereas with a two-wheel drive, you're just kind of along for a ride once you go off of the jump. So there are actually a lot of benefits with a four-wheel drive model, and a lot of people will tell you to just go with a four-wheel drive. But you have to be real with yourself. Can you handle the costs? Can you handle the extra parts and having to maintain those parts? So those are just some of the things you need to think about. But as far as the driving experience goes, I wouldn't discount either. Again, this is a lot of fun. I think it will actually make you a better driver behind the wheel of a two-wheel drive. And then a four-wheel drive is just a lot of fun to manipulate and just drive hard with. So those are your differences between a two-wheel drive and a four-wheel drive truck. The decision on which one is best for you is really up to you and what you think you're going to do with this RC car. All right, let me know what you pick in the comments section below. If you have any other questions, of course, throw it down there as well. We have a playlist for getting into RC. If you have an idea for a video, let me know in the comments section as well. And if you need links for the vehicles I showed today, I'll have them in the video description.